Wall-to-wall program is really important. It's helping kids who've had a bit of a rough go so far, usually a history of tagging, and they're just being taken under Andrew's wing and mentored and developed into, their early talent is being turned into something which is potentially could be life-changing for them. Andrew himself had a bit of a rough start, and it was this sort of program that turned him around, and he's now an international artist travelling the world and living the life he actually wants to.
Basically, this program is called Wall to Wall program. The idea is that they wanted to get myself involved. I'm a local street artist here in Melbourne, with the idea that I could basically mentor a number of students through 3 different schools across the Knox region.
There were 4 workshops in total. The first one was just to introduce Andrew, and he talked about his history, how he got to where he is now, his experiences in the street art world. The kids weren't very engaged to start with, and we had to really work at that, but by the end they were completely engaged, loved it, and wanted to do it again. The second workshop was about brainstorming the ideas, pulling images from the internet, drawing images, just bringing everything together, relating it to the site, taking on what the traders had said, and just getting everything out there. The third workshop was pulling those images together, looking at the overall design, learning about Photoshop. That was a very exciting workshop. The fourth workshop was actually just getting the kids out on boards, getting them to practice with their spray cans so that they'd be ready when we actually went out to the wall for the week and completed the work then.
It's really simple thing to do, and it's just a matter of just presenting yourself and, like I said, having some artwork to show them. Sometimes you've got to go through the channels because you might walk in and approach someone. It's no different to actually handing in your resume for a job, and it's confidence. And so through this program, we basically, give you guys first-hand experience of being there with me to do that. We're not just giving the students boards and saying go for it, and a lot of the workshops I've run in the past have just been a means more or less to get some of these kids off the street and teach them a few skills, and it's just getting them to just generally engage in whereas this one has been thorough in the sense that they've had to come down and they've had to meet the retailers and try and negotiate a concept based on the wishes of other people, not just what they want to do, and find a happy medium, working out what's going to be best to see in the wall, to go and find all the reference material. It's been really involved. The theme has to be based on the theatre, so all the images are relevant. You've got both this image at the front here and down the back, and we'll walk down in a second and have a look from old classic poster images based on the theatre. And the magic book here, theatre is obviously relevant to magic of stage production, so an open book tells many stories. Phantom of the Opera, a classic, I think probably 50s poster.
Well, I was a bit nervous about it at the start because, like, I was worried that it was going to just look like a 2-year-old did it because, like, none of us knew how to use spray cans properly. Like, I wasn't nervous. I was excited, but, like, just worried that I wasn't going to do it properly. I was worried that I was going to make it bad.
Most of us have not worked together in a group activity in creating a mural or anything like that, like being creative before. It's not just about, like, the painting and everything. Like, everyone gets to know each other more, and like maybe with people that are more quieter than others, they like come out and like you get to know them and everything.
I felt like I wanted it to go for another week because, you know, you got out of school and also it was fun and you got to do stuff and you got to learn how to spray paint. I just like art, so I'll do anything, especially when it comes to painting. I like how the colours kind of like mix. It was fun. I reckon we got closer. It wasn't tension or anything. Like you would expect, first day you get there, oh, I'm so nervous, it's going to be tension. But it wasn't. It was like you got there and then it was like we were already friends. Everybody already knew each other and we're all friends already. I reckon some people thought at the start that it would just cause trouble and bring on more people to tag stuff. And then as it started going on, people looked at it and they were like, oh, hang on, this isn't actual like graffiti what we're thinking. This is like more like a piece of art, like a work of art.
We're at Fair Hills High School working with the Year 10 kids on the wall-to-wall project. Andrew Burke, the professional artist who works around the world, is here working with the kids. Today he's teaching them how to spray paint, and this is in preparation for them all working down at the wall at Mountain Gate Shopping Centre. So, you know, he's such a nice guy and great to talk to. The kids find it easy to talk to him. You know, for someone who's done some incredible things in his life with his art and met some amazing people and worked for some incredible people, and he's quite down to earth, and he's managed to stay that way despite exposure to such fame and fortune. There's certainly lots of other programs similar to this that have worked really, really well and been successful in preventing tagging and graffiti and increasing feelings of community safety. So we're at Chosen Bean Cafe, ready to present the concept drawing to the Mountain Gate Traders Association. Andrew and I are here with Bo, one of the students who have put together the concept.
That's it. Yeah, so we're in the final throws, basically based on all the students. This is the concept that we've come up with. So we're pretty wrapped, at least I'm pretty wrapped anyway, and the kids all gave it, or the young people all gave it the approval.
Stakeholders involved at each site were the Mountain Gate Traders Association, Adding 12 Theatre in Upper Fenchurch Gully, and the IGA at Alchester Village in Baronia. The traders formed a really important part of this project. It was very important to involve them in regards to affecting ownership in this area. What you're seeing now is footage of the Mountain Gate Traders Association looking at the concept design that was put together by Andrew and the students. It was an active meeting, lots of things were said. Overall the design was liked by everybody. There was a few things we took away from that which we altered and became part of the final work.
We've gone with the nature theme for this wall. I mean, it's relevant because of the setting, the backdrop of the trees, in the foreground. It's nice to kind of look through that, and then it almost appears like you can continue looking through that down the road that leads you off towards Melbourne City, which is pretty much what you get when you jump on the old highway back to Melbourne. So we wanted to reflect that. Reflect the area. It's such a beautiful bushy suburb leading in towards Dandenongs, and because of that you have this element of nature. A lot of the students decided that they wanted to see a lot of the native bird life in there, so we've got king parrot up here, and we've got cockatoo down here, further past Melbourne City. have a cheeky galah, and he's sitting on top of the television. The TV, well, you know, students love to watch television. We thought we'd put it in there because there's many different takes on it, you know. It could be considered like discarded trash alongside the road. An unfortunate part of, you know, society. Alright, so obviously, you know, the aim behind these murals that we've done for the wall-to-wall workshop is not only to beautify the area, but we're really hoping that, you know, other, local teenagers, you know, some of the other kids in the area that are probably into the vandalism side of graffiti, can step back and take a look at this and have a think about what maybe they could possibly do if they took an extra couple of minutes to put their mind to a concept and just go about finding some legal space to paint.
It came about because I work in the place program team, and one of the places that we were working in is Mountain Gate Shopping Centre, because it's a quite a nice local shopping area where people are really proud of. And the council has committed some funds to develop it, to give it a bit of an upgrade. So we've been out for the last year or so talking to the traders, talking to the customers, finding out what they'd like done with it and how we can improve it for them, because they just like it. They prefer it to going to any of the big shopping areas. So when Joe approached me, because she had the idea of creating a mural, it seemed to work in really well, because we're at the point where we're trying to give Mountain Gate Shopping Centre a bit of a lift. And one of the areas is, you know, like the wall space, and having a mural, especially the mural, as it turned out, like it's so much better than I could have ever have imagined. But plus, I like the idea of the concept of it, where you're actually mentoring young people, and they're involved in the project. So when Joe mentioned it to me, I was quite supportive of it. She put in the application, was able to get the funding from the federal department, and then it was a matter of, once we got the funding, it was just working with Joe, and then she worked with the owners, and we worked with the Traders Association, so that they had a lot of involvement. And they're really thrilled, because it's actually something, you know, tangible that's happening, and we're going to be starting the major works in the next month, so another tangible thing, but it just really works out well because it's all linked in together, and we just think it's a fantastic project. The business owners are thrilled with it. So in the ones that haven't seen it, we've been even saying go up and have a look at it, that are at a different end. But the ones that have been seeing it, it's like so much better than they even imagined. I think they're, like with anything, they're probably skeptical. And especially, you know, when you kind of come and you just don't quite know what the quality is. And even though they were involved, the business owners, through the Traders Association, in each of the projects, with designing the theme and what was going to be some of the key elements. And for Mountain Gate, it was like the nature, and they liked the idea of just having something quirky with the TV being there. At Alchester Village, it was linking it into the music and the Basin Music Festival, and so they really like the idea, but until you see the final project, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But I think now that they're seeing the final project, they're really thrilled with it.
Right now, Melbourne's been fantastic. For the better part of the last maybe 4 or 5 years, there is increasing opportunity. A lot of the councils around Melbourne are getting on board and trying to come up with these different types of initiatives. It may not be exactly the same structures that has been implied by Knox, but you know, workshops and mentoring programs. I've run quite a few over the last number of years with some close friends of mine, and I hear of other people doing it as well. Look, I think that's a step in the right direction. I will say that it's a credit to Knox that they've come up with a mentoring or a workshop program that has been quite intensive. I don't think I've ever run one this intensive before, where it's gone for quite a long duration of time, and we've really started out from getting the students to develop their concepts, you know, really think about what it is that they want to say through their painting, to be out on site and negotiate that concept with the retailers, through to learning a little bit about Photoshop and how I go about collaging a concept together, and then taking it to the street and going out and actually taking everything that they've learned in the workshop, in the class, and applying that onto the wall.
I suppose I'm directly affected. My sign's been graffitied quite a few years ago and tagged by a couple of graffiti artists, and the cost for that to repair the sign is quite exorbitant, and then it just makes everything look untidy and sort of unprofessional. And a lot of people work hard in their businesses and community to keep their community looking great and vibrant. Sometimes graffiti can really pull that down. Having Andrew come and share his talents with the design and working with our committee on the Mountain Gate Traders Committee, and also with the school and the kids. I think Joe Harding's energy from the council's phenomenal to get it all sort of together, and I think anything contributes to that, and the kids will take ownership of it. And I'm sure there's actually a couple of graffiti artists here amongst the kids that are doing it, and they'll get to see, and I've introduced myself to them and talk about graffiti, and it's a great experience to be able to do it legitimately. Well, it's always easy to get the talented artist to come and paint some mural, but what does it mean? No one owns it. You get the young people and disadvantaged people, and you bring them up. And it's only in the doing and the experience of sharing something together with another person, and it develops a whole new possibilities, I believe.
When I was younger, my generation seemed a lot different to the one of today. We had the utmost respect for any generations above us and their work. If it was the peers that we aspired to be or looked up to, we didn't go anywhere near their work. Like, it was just absolutely forbidden. It was unwritten law that you just did not go over or touch anyone else's work. And for me and many others that I grew up with, that went beyond just the realm of graffiti, and that was just respecting artwork in general. Like, why go and deface a beautiful artwork? I guess because I've always poured a lot of energy and invested time into my art, maybe I always thought, even since I was a young age, that I would hate it if someone did that to me. So I've always had that element of respect, and I've always tried to push that, whether it be through painting with friends, meeting people over the years, running workshops. It's just not on. So my generation, we just weren't about that. You have so much influence on social media. Graffiti has become segregated. People have different takes on what graffiti is now. You have people that want to go out and do these large scale public artworks. You have people that just want to kind of develop their graffiti style, and that'll be their large scale pieces. And then you have others that simply, they just want to cause damage, and it's about how much that they can get up. And because there's so many people now in the scene, in Melbourne especially, it's such a big thriving scene, and there's so many amazing artists. It's you can't have one without the other. It's the unfortunate nature of anything that comes from the streets, and it will always be that way. It's a balancing act. You can't just take away the kids and those that want to go out and do the tagging. It's never going to be a perfect world, but what we can do is we can try and curb the enthusiasm by doing more projects like this, and encouraging those that maybe just haven't thought a little bit outside the box. Hey, maybe I could give that a go and see if that's for me. Maybe, because I do think it's pretty amazing. Maybe if there was more programs run by councils like this, and it was more accessible, there was more legal spaces for kids to paint, there would be less active vandalism. And I think that's a big thing. We never had anywhere legal to paint. I put the portfolio together, and I spent weeks and weeks and months on end going around door knocking, getting knocked back time and time again. After some time, over a few years, I ended up having a few walls, and we go and paint these walls consistently, and that's how I learnt to paint. I think that if there was more opportunity for kids these days that are getting into it to say, well, hang on, maybe I don't have to sneak out at night and go down the railway corridor or down this alleyway on someone's front fence, because I can go with my mate tomorrow that told me that there's this workshop on in a park or there's a legal wall happening. I can go there and I can have a paint and build my skills, and then all of a sudden, oh hey, I can actually do this. So then your mind's switched from thinking all I want to do is do a tag.
So the story sort of is like there's all like nature and stuff around you, and then we put the TV in to kind of like show that, you know, you don't need to be around the TV to sort of have a good time and stuff. And yeah, we sort of included everything like by getting a bunch of pictures and chose which ones we liked and which ones we didn't, and that's sort of how everything got to be there. We had Puff and Billy in there originally, and we had to get rid of that because one of the people didn't like it and they wanted us to shrink it, and it just didn't work, so we just took it out. Yeah, we're just working on the mountains at the moment, just filling it in. And yeah, I've sort of learnt stenciling and fades and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, I think people just sort of have respect for it, and more than they would just a plain brick wall, so they sort of keep off it, I think.
You know, over the last 20 years, it's become so much bigger than how I simply go about putting my art onto a wall. I've had to learn the whole business side of everything. I've had to learn about art. I've had to learn about fine art. I've had to learn about many different styles of art, because you're always influenced. You're always searching for new inspiration that you can bring back into your own work, and your work as you grow evolves, as it is with anything. And so it's constantly a learning curve. You constantly improve yourself, you constantly improve your people skills, and therefore hopefully I can pass all that on, what I've learnt, to these guys, which I think I have. I feel that we've had a pretty good response with all three of the groups. You know, considering at the very beginning, the first Dilly classes, everyone was really in their shells and very quiet. And then by the end of it, you know, it was just great. I got that response that I was hoping for. That, you know, and all the students have been very thankful and very appreciative, even the ones that haven't been that much into art, you know, or have never touched a spray can for that matter. You know, I try and teach them little things as well, you know, that whether or not they go on and they use spray cans or they just continue on with art in general, what I teach can be applied to any style of art, and that's very important to me. And basically I'm just making sure that I teach them the most important and invaluable lessons that I learnt and will pass down to me when I was their age. Oh, look, it's been great. It's been, you never know how these things are going to wind up. You always hope that you might be able to engage with, you know, at least a small handful of the students. And I think for the most part, like, whether the kids have really, you know, been into art or into graffiti or street art or whatever it may be, there's something that they've all individually been able to take away from it. They've been all three groups have been really lively and just pretty positive kids. You know, I think it's a good thing for the area, and yeah, it's probably out of many of the workshops that I've run in the past, I'd say that you know, this one's definitely been one of the most successful in that sense that you couldn't have asked for a better outcome, you know? I mean, look at the work that they've done. They've got to take ownership of their concept and then, you know, deliver it onto a full scale in public, which can be a bit daunting, especially when I'm trying to teach them to paint stuff that's well out of their comfort zone. And yet they just took it all in their stride and have done a really good job. So they all should be proud. Good on them.
Oh, look, it was just great seeing them. They're all so positive. You know, it was a great atmosphere. It was well run, and they had a sense of ownership. At the same time, they accepted the guidance far more readily than they normally would, which is an issue with a lot of them, is actually taking advice. But here they're taking advice from someone they could relate to as a peer and someone who was effectively on their side, and it just, yeah, the good side of them came out.
Any program, whether it be art, whether it be sport, any program that helps get young people off the street is a great thing. And as a Knox councillor and as a part of a council team, I think it is imperative that we support anything that involves youth and anything that involves getting them off the streets. I have seen the end result, and the end result is brilliant. Now, what will happen, in my view, what tends to happen, these young people have built this beautiful art piece at Mountain Gate on private property, which is also great that we've got a private partnership with private owners. What you'll see there is that wall was always graffitied. And as a former trader at Mountain Gate, that wall was always graffitied. The owners in the end just gave up. They got sick and tired of painting over it. And what we will see there now is that the code between young people is we don't graffiti over other people's artwork. So, you know, it beautifies Mountain Gate, but it also protects that piece of art. Well, what happens is, I've had a lot to do with graffiti over the years, and my experience is that graffiti is a perception of safety, and anything we can do to relieve that perception, and that is like painting these walls, getting rid of the graffiti as soon as we see it, helps those people feel safe in their communities.